All right, welcome in. Welcome in, welcome in. It is a Monday, a reaction Monday here on the show. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio, Farm Bureau Insurance, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. How y'all are? As Just Dan Wilson used to say on, what was it called? The Cajun Cook. Glad to be with you on this Monday here in the Bureau. And look, we are stream only again today. And I think we'll be the same way tomorrow as well. Stream only. It hopefully. Now, y'all keep Beaver in your thoughts and prayers. He's not on death's door, as far as we know. But we got some travel issues today, potentially. But also, he'll have another checkup tomorrow, and then hopefully we get back to normal on the radio on Wednesday. And so we'll see you then for the full show. But today, kind of like at the end of last week, abbreviated show, but also just will be stream only here. YouTube, Facebook, X, everybody in Streamland. And plenty to get into. So I need you on this Reaction Monday here. If you're tuning in the stream, however you're tuning into it, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or X, you can just type in a comment. It pops up here in one nice, neat column. We can talk that way. It's just one way to be a part of the show. The text line is open. So if you are tuning in on the stream and you'd rather just shoot me a text message, you can do that. The number there is at the bottom. You see that? There it goes right there. 885-3776, 601 number, 885-3776. Text that number and I'll get it. Again, that's if you're on the stream on one of these platforms on social, Facebook, YouTube, if you're on X, but you would prefer to text me. The Country Pleasing text line, Country Pleasing Sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It's the best, hands down. I don't think it's close. That's my opinion, but a lot of people share that opinion with me. Let me just tell you, like I told you again last week, you know, in preparation for getting ready to, I don't know, to potentially for us to go without power. Now, we didn't have to go without power nearly as long as others did and have and are still going without power in Mississippi. But in preparation for that, getting food ready and all, and I dove into some pepper jack and green onion sausage. I still have some of that left. And yesterday I had one of those, bun size, link size sausage dogs, pineapple and pork. Yeah. I only ate for lunch yesterday, but that pepper jack and green onion now, it's the real deal. Yeah. So welcome in here. And in terms of reacting to things on a Monday with y'all, the number one story is the ice in the Southeast and in Mississippi, particularly the Delta over in the western part of the state. Anything north and west, all the way up to Memphis, is just, they're still socked in with power outages and trees down and ice everywhere. A little further east of there, kind of where I live in Tupelo, we had some issues. We still have ice on the trees. Not as many issues of ice on roads, but still on bridges and some things like that. But still a lot of people with power outages. We were pretty fortunate where we live that even though we had behind where we live, there's a patch of cedar trees. It's like the cedar trees do worse with ice on them than the other kind because they all broke. And some of that caused some lines to be down. But, tip of the cap really around the state and around the U.S., but in our state and I can just say, I wish I knew their names, but I can picture them. The guys who I saw way, way before daylight the other night when that ice storm came through out here around in our neighborhood and, working for Tupelo Water and Light and, Tom Bigby Electric and all the companies around here, and trying to restore power and cutting trees and cutting limbs and up in buckets and getting rained on and doing everything they could. And, they are the real heroes, for sure. So it could be a lot worse. Yeah. And places like Oxford, man, Oxford really I was talking to Annabeth a minute ago. She has a friend who has a son who's in school there and lives there in Oxford. They are still without power. And the inside of his house is 38 degrees right now on the inside. I mean, so to say that we went, at our house, we only went, we only went 7 hours kind of overnight into, I guess, yesterday morning without power, a period of time of 7 hours. They got us back on and we've been able to stay on. So, compared to what other people are going through, our family, we are so thankful. We're really, 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 really fortunate. And I'm really happy to be standing here in the studio with you today. Jason in Flagstaff says on YouTube, how's Beaver? Been thinking about him all weekend. He's doing okay, Jason. Again, it's not a thing where he's not in the hospital. He's not like super ill or on death's door. He's just kind of going through a little something. And I think he's got another appointment tomorrow. So today and tomorrow we are, for that and other reasons, we are stream only. And hopefully we can get back, into the normal routine, which includes getting Beaver back and in the control room and getting us on the radio and stuff on Wednesday. That's the hope. But we'll connect with you here one way or the other. But keep praying for him. Steve commented on Facebook, said it's so cold. I know this one, and you know what, Steve? I've heard several versions of this one, and I always like it. He said, it's so cold, I saw a politician with his hands in his own pocket. Look, the first time I ever heard that joke, it was about lawyers. And then I was surprised several years ago how new that joke was to so many people on social media, because I changed it. And I said, it's so cold outside. Somebody saw Jimmy Sexton with his hands in his own pocket. And then it's like, it went like mini viral there. I was like, man, I figured everybody knew that joke already. But it still applies, Steve. It still applies. Will comments and says, our Super Bowl is set, Matt. A rematch of Super Bowl 49. Hey, thanks for the number, too. I hate trying to figure out those Roman numerals. Just put the number on it. Thank you, Will. Well, between Seahawks and Patriots, I think Seattle will dare throw it from the 1 yard line. Not this go around. I bet they don't. If that situation presents itself again, I bet they don't. Listen, Will, I feel like Seattle's going to win the game. Without Bo Nix, you kind of felt like Denver didn't have much of a chance. Turned out they had plenty of a chance. They just made mistakes. That last interception from Stidham, and he did a lot of really good things in the game, I guess, considering, but that last interception by Stidham was such a head scratcher. Because, on the broadcast, they highlighted the play before where he maybe should have let it go up the field or could have. They were debating that. Well, they came back the next play, and he just drops and pumps it up the right side. And nothing about the play, the pre-snap read, the defensive alignment, nor reading it as the safety drop and going over, nothing about the play should have indicated to him, triggered him to throw it that side. Nothing about it's like it's like almost just a give up freak out moment. Just throw it to the other team. And you almost never see that in NFL games. And I mean, that was rough. And I know there was other stuff in there too, but I feel like the Seahawks, they look like the best team, don't they? I mean, the whole combination of their defense and their run game and the opportunities that it opens up for Darnold. I bet Seattle wins it, but I'm also convinced it's going to be one heck of a football game. Will, that's how I feel about it. Jason said, "Yeah, you understand the milk and bread thing now, don't you?" Well, I kind of do, but again, Jason, like me and us, and we are so fortunate as compared to other folks around us and to the west of here and northwest of here. And even, somebody mentioned, Gene mentioned Vicksburg got hammered by ice storms. I mean, Annabeth's mom and dad down in Vicksburg right now because of some outages up the road and a tree falling because of ice and stuff. They're without power and have been some today. So people are really going through it. We're going to talk with a friend of mine later in the show. Y'all may know him, Stafford Sheridan. He's from Drew, Mississippi. He's kind of like the unofficial mayor and ambassador and chamber of commerce guy and everything for Drew, Mississippi now. He's an author, and they've really gone through it. We're going to talk to him about kind of what they still are going through over there with the ice and the Delta. And that's coming up later in the show. So here's what we're going to do. Right now, quick break. I'm going to fill my cup up with some hot coffee. We'll come back, hit headlines, and, of course, talk about the whole Dabo and Pete Golding thing. And I got a timeline for you. So quick break. Right back with you here in the Bureau. Stand by.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender. Hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. It's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. All right. So there you go. Message from Farm Bureau Insurance. Back with you. Let's go. Headlines here today for Monday.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines on the show brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, buying, refinancing, anything like that. Go see the folks at the Mortgage Man Group. Again, mortgagemanms.com. As Will mentioned, headline number 1, we've got our Super Bowl matchup. Patriots beat the Broncos. Second half snowstorm yesterday. It was fun to watch on TV. I guess it was not so fun to watch it if you were a Broncos fan. Patriots getting by on the hair of their chinny chin 10-7. So the Patriots are in. Drake May, he's just a winner, does winning things, running the ball. That last play running for a great play call too. Little naked bootleg and quarterback runs for a first down in the snow. If you're Denver, you got to be looking for that, right? And then last night, an awesome game. Seahawks, Rams, 31-27. Seahawks get by there and into the Super Bowl. So we got a rematch of 49, Super Bowl 49, Seahawks and Patriots. Basketball this weekend, State got totally and utterly embarrassed at home by Vanderbilt. $32-point home loss for State. They fall to 2-5 in the SEC. And, when they're good, it looks good. But when they are bad, it is almost impossible to watch. They're that bad. Ole Miss took another loss, went to Kentucky and got beat. So Ole Miss falls to 3-4 in the SEC. That was a 9-point loss on the road, 72-63. And then elsewhere around the SEC, there's lots of results. Texas whipped up on Georgia. But you had the Alabama-Tennessee thing. How did you feel? Alabama skirting the the sort of integrity of the rules, bringing in an NBA G League player, play him in the game at home, and unranked Tennessee upsets ranked Alabama and wins it anyway, 79-73. And the freshman, there's a freshman for Tennessee that scored 29 points in the ballgame. It's just incredible. On the women's side, I saw where, Ole Miss was supposed to host Tennessee this weekend in women's basketball. I didn't get to because Oxford is just zapped out with the ice storm. So that thing's been postponed. I don't know when they'll make it up. Haven't heard, but that game didn't happen. State's women played on Sunday. Yeah. On Sunday, went to Alabama, got beat. It's a close game. 7-point loss on the road at Alabama for Purcell and company, and they fall to 2-5. in the Southeastern Conference. And one more NFL headline for you. They are saying that Matthew Stafford declined to discuss if he would be back next season. He's 37 years old, has one Super Bowl in his pocket. This was his 17th season in the NFL. So the former Georgia Bulldog right now non-committal on if he's coming back or not. And those are your headlines brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Luminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Will commented on YouTube, said the footage I've seen on the ice in Oxford is insane. Yeah, whole tree's bent over, snapped in half. Yeah, it really is something else what it did. He also said the Broncos receivers had a lot of drops in there too. They did. Stidham had a couple of throws that they've got to come down with it. And they didn't do it. Sven in Berlin says, I hope Dabo Swinney has enough power as a two-time national champion to set an example and get this player banned for the 26-27 season. Says, and that would be the right move. All right. Let's talk about this. Y'all will be able to see. I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see this timeline. Rather than come in here and like play you the audio and show you the video, which, you know, you and everybody has looked at it 5 different times in 5 different ways. The video of Dabo Swinney at his press conference going through the timeline of when they allegedly tampered with this player that signed with them so that he'd, you know, leave Clemson, even though he was enrolled there, and go to school at Ole Miss. Well, what you got right here, check this out. This is a timeline I found online that followed the timeline that Dabo Swinney gave as to when all this happened, and we might find it interesting. Okay, so Cal linebacker Luke Farrelly, official flip to Ole Miss, and then, you know, Dabo saying they tampered. So here is the timeline that Dabo Swinney gave. All right, first up, Sunday, January 4th, Clemson general manager Jordan Sorrells had his first conversation with Farrelly's agent named Ryan Williams. That's January 4th. The next day, January 5th, Farrelly and his father at Clemson, they went to Swinney's house. That's the first time they'd met. Swinney said it was just to get to know each other right there at the beginning and, you know, had a good conversation. The father and son were coming from their Ole Miss visit, and Swinney asked how it was. This is a quote from Swinney. Dad said, not good. Said it was a mess. It was unorganized. It was chaos. The building was a mess. Nobody knew what was going on. He's quoting the kid's father. The Clemson head coach and said that he was looking forward to having him on campus for the official visit. And then Tuesday, the next day, Tuesday, January 6th, Farrelly had the official visit, had his father, had his agent, Ryan Williams. 2:30 p.m., he was given an offer to join the program. Swinney said they verbally accepted the terms of the offer. And it says here, it's an important note that Swinney was only looking for one linebacker in the transfer cycle since he believed that he had his guy. He canceled remaining visits with other linebackers, which to whether or not that's smart, I'll leave that up to you. He said that we're going to take one linebacker. We cancel the other visits. Then the next day, Wednesday, January 7th, that afternoon, Swinney said that Farrelly and his father left for California. Before that, however, he signed his financial aid agreement with Clemson. It essentially meant that he had everything handled to be a student come the beginning of the following week. That's January 7th. So go to the weekend, January 11th. Farrelly officially moved to Clemson on Sunday, January 11th. Swinney says that he has an apartment rented, buys a car, also in class for that week. He was also training with the team for that week. Farrelly was in team and position meetings during that time. Then the following Wednesday, okay, this is a week after he signed. He's already reported he's there. He's in class. Sorrells is called by Williams on Wednesday night, who speaks to him about how Ole Miss has been coming hard for Farrelly. He said, are you talking about the same Luke that's been enrolled? The same Luke that's been enrolled at Clemson, that's been in class, that's moved here, that's signed with Clemson? Williams confirmed. However, the agent assured Sorrells that Luke had no intention of leaving Clemson. He just wanted to keep the program in the know about the situation. All right. Thursday, January 15th. Sorrells tells Swinney about the conversation the following morning. Then Clemson head coach made a move, telling the general manager to reach out to who? Austin Thomas, Ole Miss's general manager. He wanted to give head coach Pete Golding a warning because all the pieces moved from Lane Kiffin's situation. Golding was the head coach. Here's Dabo. Dabo said, I reached out. I said, you reach out to the GM. I'm going to give him some grace and you let him know that, let him know what's going on. Swinney also told Sorrells that if the Rebels do not cease communication, Clemson was going to turn him in. On and on and on and on. The GM at Ole Miss assured Jordan Sorrells at Clemson that he had communicated to the agent he wanted no part of this and that his relationship with Jordan was more important to him than Luke Farrelly. But that Pete Golding just, quote, does what he does. 1:30 that afternoon, Sorrells met with Farrelly in the office. Here we go. Farrelly was in class at 8 a.m., got a text message from Golding. This is quoting Dabo. And he said, the text message said, I know you're signed. What's the buyout? Linebacker told Golding he had texted him a picture of a $1 million contract with it. Clemson head coach said current former Rebel players reached out. Trinidad Chambliss. Okay, so you got Golding. All right, kid's already at Clemson. He's already signed. He's in class working out with the team. So Golding himself, and not only that, but we're going to involve our players. Get Trinidad Chambliss on the phone, said that he had Jackson Dart call. Then Friday, January 16th, the day after this. This is key. This is the last day that players could announce that they are entering the transfer portal. That morning, there was a staff meeting. Farrelly had called Boulware, told him that Ole Miss had reached out again. They're doubling their offer. But Luke told Ben, hey, we're good. After that meeting, Boulware texts him and tells him that Ole Miss raised the offer to $2 million for 2 years. Spoke to the agent right here. Okay, he confirmed it. The agent confirmed that head coach Pete Golding had continued to communicate with Luke and had raised the offer. Sorrell said Farrelly asked him to show the text message that he receives. Williams, the agent, was hesitant, saying he didn't want to burn any bridges with Ole Miss. However, how about this? The agent communicated if we were to add a second year at $1 million to the already agreed upon deal for Luke, that would be at Clemson, they would gladly give us whatever we need in order to turn Ole Miss in. How about that? So fast forward. Then at 11:57, Williams said that the Ole Miss assistant director of player personnel was looking to set up a Zoom call with Farrelly to discuss the details. 30 minutes later, he meets with Farrelly in the parking lot. The linebacker said that he was there to assure Sorrells and Swinney that he was staying at Clemson. 4:14, they're in the compliance office. He's requesting a transfer. Now, again, look at this. He's got an agent. I've lost my place. So here we go. He's got an agent. 30 minutes later, they meet Farrelly at the football facility parking lot. The linebacker said that he was there to assure Swinney and them that he's staying at Clemson. He wasn't in the building. And then at 4:14, they approach him again. He got a call from the compliance office. The linebacker was looking to request to re-enter the transfer portal so that he could go to Ole Miss. So there is your timeline. You could go read some of the rest of that if you wanted to. But then 2 Wednesdays later, Farrelly is officially in the transfer portal, announced by multiple outlets, and then he goes to Ole Miss. So that's kind of your timeline. Your thoughts. How do you feel about all that? Will commented and he said, a student athlete texting in class. Why I never. So I didn't think about that part. You know what, Will? I didn't even think about that part of it. I really didn't. John said on Facebook, Humphreys County is in rough shape. Oh, I bet. I bet it is. Will commented and said, jokes aside, this shows that this is actually the Wild West when a player can sign and start practicing with a team and then just jump ship to a new team after signing $1 million contract. Yeah, I mean, well, and in that case, here's my question on it. Like, what's the point of signing a contract if it doesn't necessarily keep you at that school for any period of time? Like, you can go ahead and start practicing, go to class, and leave. What's the point of having a contract? You know what I mean? And what kind of contract? It seems to me like it's just a waste of time. Sven said Clemson should sue the player for breaking an existing contract and damage on the university. He says the number I want to have from the player, $10 million. I mean, go at it. I mean, whatever. Jason commented during that whole timeline with Dabo and Coach Golding. Amazing to me how quiet the fire coaches crowds are about Jans. I'm not the biggest fire XYZ guy and was all in on him, but really questioning my judgment on him the last 18 months or so. I mean, it has been awful, hasn't it? Hasn't it? It's here recently, it's not just been bad. It's been downright awful. Earlier, Sven said this too. We're talking about Alabama. The University of Alabama should be banned from any college sports for 10 years. To bring in a signed NBA professional and let him participate in a ball game is against every rule there is. Head coach, AD, everything. That's kind of what we talked about last week, isn't it, Sven? I feel like sometimes we all wind up preaching to ourselves a little bit, but the idea is, in everything, there's a right and there's a wrong. Okay. And my question is, in something like that with the player at Alabama, and something like this stuff with transfer portal, the idea of tampering after a kid's already signed and windows are closed and different things, there's an idea that there's a right and a wrong in everything. And are you willing, this is rhetorical, are you willing to say the only right and wrong is can or can't? Is that what we're willing to say? See, what I think and let me be careful here, and then we're going to take a break and talk to a guest. I know Greg Byrne, the athletics director at Alabama, and I really think a lot of him. He is a fine person. And I know it's not just him. He has a whole village of Alabama people around him, the president of the school, the boosters, the judge who's a booster. You got the whole legal side of this, your basketball coach who wants to win. I get all that, but I still must say that I feel like Coach Oates and Greg and those folks at Alabama with this situation, this G League player, they didn't go right and wrong. Spirit of the rules, integrity. They just went can and can't. If you can, do it. If you can't, don't. But if you can, just do it. Well, I don't think that's a great way to sort of rule your own thoughts and your own actions. It's just, can you or can't you? There's a right and wrong and everything. And the same is true with players in a transfer portal. A kid's at one school, he's already signed. He's already in class. He's already there. Can you, in today's world, can you offer him more money and get him to go back on what he said and get him to come to home? Yeah. But there's a right and there's a wrong. And I think even in that situation, you shouldn't just say, and this goes for any coach, any program, you shouldn't just say can and can't. There's no right and wrong. There's just can and can't. I can do it, so I will do it. I just don't think it's a great way to go about things. And I wonder what kind of message it sends. And in the case of Ole Miss, you're even involving your own student athlete. I think it's wrong. That's what I think. There's a right and there's a wrong. I just think it's wrong. So anyway, those are your headlines. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Quick word from our sponsors, a little bit of a break, refill my cup of coffee. We're going to come back and talk with Stafford Sheridan, the unofficial mayor, ambassador, Chamber of Commerce, anything Drew, Mississippi, and other parts unknown. We'll talk with Stafford Sheridan and find out a little bit about what things have been like for he and his fellow citizens and folks in the Delta with this ice and what's still going on from an ice and a lack of power standpoint over in the Delta here today on this Monday. That's all coming up back after
these messages. We'll be right back.
The Junction Delis, convenience redefined, and Prince Oil Company, a match made in heaven. The Junction Deli, fueled by Prince Oil Company. Prince Oil Company has been fueling Central Mississippi since 1960. It's a pretty good little while. Wonderful people. Man, am I ever more tickled that they're a part of the show and I'm a part of their team now. As you know, if you listen to the radio show, I've been to the Junction in several different places around the state. I've bought gas just like you at a lot of places that are fueled by Prince Oil Company, and they are really wonderful people. By the way, that brand spanking new Junction Deli, Chevron, right across the highway from Germantown High School. It's in Canton, we say Gluckstadt. Do you realize they and other Junction Delis, they serve country pleasing sausage over there on the buffet? They don't get much better than that. The Junction and Prince Oil Company. That's what I'm talking about. All right, how about that? Since we don't have the beeve in the studio, so we're not taking the phone calls on the Junction phone line like we normally do. But we'll get that back this week. And so instead, we've got it face to face, side by side. It is Stafford Cherden, who looks to me.
Hey, man, I cannot hear you.
Okay, you can't hear me. Hang on. We can hear you loud and clear, Stafford. Hold on. Let's go. Audio.
We might have to call in, buddy. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
All right, hang on one second here. Let's go. Insulation. You got me now? You hear me now? Yay? Nay? No? No? There's that. Okay, he can't hear me. You hear me?
Live stuff.
Well, I think it may, I hate to say it this way, but I think it might actually be on his end. You may have to do a call in. You know what? And if I'm not mistaken, he looked like he was actually working. Had his apron on at his restaurant there. Yeah, there we go. Let's try it again. He's giving me another connection. Let's see. Okay. Can you hear me?
I got you now, brother. Sorry about that.
That's all right. All it needed was just another click, or like Andy Griffith said on the movie No Time for Sergeants, to do like he used to do with his old radio at home. You spit in the back of it and whomp it real good one time, and it starts working.
No time for Sergeants. You went deep for that one.
I sure did. Hey, first of all, thanks for giving me some time. Are you working today at the restaurant?
Yes, I actually do work sometimes.
Okay, listen. So you're there in Drew. Give me a little bit of description of what, like in your part of the Delta, what this ice storm did and what it's been like the last 48 hours or so.
Yeah. So everybody compared it to 94. It's nothing like 94. This is not generator power. We actually got power back at the restaurant last night. The biggest difference between this and 94 is you see a lot of down limbs and stuff like that, but you don't see whole trees down. You don't see a lot of poles down. Unfortunately, headed out to my house, all the poles are down, so I'm going to be a while on my little dead end road. But yeah, it's way better than last time, but it's still bad because it's so cold and a lot of people are still without power. So what we're worried about here is just making sure we can get to everybody that doesn't have power and keep them warm and keep them fed. That's why we opened today. Me and my manager just by ourselves opened the restaurant today and was like, hey, if you want to come just sit, even if you don't have money, sit. We'll feed you even if you don't have money. But if you just want to get out of the cold, come up to Stafford's. And I know every little town around here is like that. And we kind of got hit like Tupelo did, I think. And you and I were talking over text. North of us, way worse than what we have here.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, west of us in Tupelo, so Oxford is a great example.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures, and Stafford. I was talking to Annabeth earlier before I came up here to the studio, and she's talking with a friend of hers who's got a son that's going to school over there in Oxford, and it's he didn't have any heat or electricity. It's 38 degrees inside his house. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you got people in and around. So you have a big generator, I guess, at the restaurant. Is that how you run things? Or you have power?
We have power here, and I have a generator at my house, thank goodness.
Yeah.
One of the downsides of living in the country is we're on a well, so I have the well on the corner of my yard, so I don't have water. But here at the restaurant, we had a generator here too. So we were running a generator, and then about 6 o'clock last night, power came back on to most of Drew, Mississippi. There's still about a third of town never lost power, which is incredible.
Yeah,
and there's a third of town that still hadn't gotten it back. And I'm just guessing numbers, man. You ride around, you're looking, you're trying to find ways. I was out literally yesterday unstopping drains where it was thawing and the ice was hanging it up. Because you just do what you can, when you live in these little towns. Those guys are short-handed on a good day. Yesterday was tough for them.
Man, yeah, absolutely. And also the guys, the linemen, and the people who work for power companies. Stafford, and I posted a little picture. I found an artist several years ago drew a picture of a lineman on a pole with ice all over it, and he was in a Superman costume like his heroes. And what made me go look for that was, where we live in Tupelo, we lost power at about 2 a.m. that night, and man, it got cold in here quick. And I've got, it's a 2-story house, and we've got gas logs in one room downstairs, but that can only heat so much, and it got cold quick. Well, that night it's pouring down rain, sleet and freezing rain. I'm talking about pouring while it's freezing, while trees are falling. And when I saw those flashlights and stuff around and different guys with saws on poles because they couldn't get the truck up there, it's raining so hard they can't even look up at what they're sawing. They got to keep their head down. And I'm thinking, man, if I could go out there and hug every one of them right now, I'd do it. The people that are doing that, they really are like Supermen now. They've got my respect.
We talk about MVP in sports and we translate that to other professions. But dude, what you just said, the mouthful of those guys, the idea that they were in the middle of that, because I really thought that they would not be working and it would be days before and then to come back. I came back up here last night to turn the generator off at the restaurant and power was on. So I had to unconnect everything. And I was so thankful, man. I posted a video right then. I was like, man, I can't believe that they got this working with ice still on these lines too. You just think about, I don't know what went wrong, but I don't even know how they're working through this. Cause the good thing that happened in 94 was it was 70 degrees the next day. Like it was cold that night, but it got warm after. So nobody had power, but everybody was grilling out and sharing. And now people can't even get to their loved ones. Drew PD's out making welfare checks because people can't get out of their house. It's a totally different scenario, even though it's not as bad in a way. Man, you talking about, thank gosh it didn't get as cold as they said. It was supposed to get 6 degrees here, and it was, I think, 17 degrees when I left the house at 6 this morning.
Yeah.
Which still, like you said, still means it's 38 degrees in your house,
That's right. Well, and like for Tupelo, for example, I was looking at, it says we are 24 degrees right now in Tupelo with a low tonight overnight of 11. Okay. And then finally tomorrow at some point, the high is supposed to get up over freezing tomorrow. But, so not to try to stir up, fear and scare anybody to death. But I think the reality is if we get down to single digits in parts of the state and 10 degrees, 11 degrees, and there are still people without power in Drew or in Oxford and stuff tonight, man, so I don't know. Like, what do you do? What are you going to do? It's almost like you people who do have power and some heat probably need to open the doors and say, just come on in.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. So my plan tonight is the power's on here at the restaurant. I'm just going to leave the lights on and the door open. There's nothing in here anybody can steal. I've got a locked office that you can't get into. So that's my plan. If you need a place and you're in the Drew area, if you can get here, you can come in and at least you're out. There's running water, there's hot water, and we have heat. So it's like 2,500 square foot of dining space. There's no reason why you can't come in here and hang out and be warm until this power comes back on. But that to me is the real fear. People that stay put are going to freeze to death. Yeah. I'm like you. I'm not trying to be scary, but that's the fear right now. It's not your food spoiling or something like that. We got bigger problems.
Well, you put out something earlier when this thing was coming, and we knew it was coming, and you said, hey, y'all, check on your neighbors, your elderly neighbors, and check on people. Boy, I mean, that advice, whether it's Drew or anywhere else or anybody else watching this in any other part of the state, really check on people. And if they got a cold house, we might need to jump into action and help them out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, if you're not able to go get them, most of these small town police departments will do welfare checks. And like Drew PD, they get a bad rap, and they, I don't agree with everything they do, but they were out yesterday riding around with the lights on, begging people to come to them, and they were trying to, I know this, there's one lady that works there that's got a list of all the elderly, and even during normal times, she calls that list once a week just to check on them. Okay. And that's the kind of thing that every community, every police department should be doing, but especially right now. So if you know somebody in another town, I would recommend calling the police department and say, hey, because they do welfare checks. That's one of the things they do. And that's one of the calls they would rather make, I think, than some of these others that they get. But it's not a little thing. We need to be worried about our elderly. So
you're saying if I come to Stafford's restaurant right now today in Drew, Mississippi, that Stafford Sheridan himself, I'm sorry, Sheridan's restaurant might actually cook me a sandwich or something. You might cook me something.
So we did is like, we're going to cook what we got today. And once a week we do a buffet. On Sundays, we do a buffet from, we say, the church crowd, right? And we just rolled the buffet out. We cooked what we had, threw it out on the buffet, and we're actually very busy. I can hear my office, Stafford Sheridan Studios, is in the kitchen. And so I can hear Angie. It's just me and Angie in here today. Everybody else we let off. And I can hear her over there clanking around, washing dishes and stuff. But we were surprisingly very busy. People were ready to get out, a lot of them. Some of them didn't have power at home. So why not come here and have a hot meal in comfort? And we had a lot of folks show up. I tell you what, I'm the gas station guy, right?
Yeah.
So who else deserves an award is who's the first people to open in a natural disaster? It's always the gas station. And I think about this all the time. Those gas station workers that were out this morning cooking sausage and biscuits and frying chicken so that these crews that you're talking about had something to eat. And that was kind of the inspiration for us going, let's go up there and make sure we got power. Let's get open. Was watching these gas stations, because you think of Katrina, the first thing open was the Waffle House and the gas station, And why can't we do, if those guys are there, they're open on Christmas when we run out of the cranberry sauce or whatever, and we run to the gas station. But they're also, most of these guys that have power or generators are open now. And our little gas station in Drew was open with no power yesterday.
How about that?
And I drove up, he came out the front door, he said, come on in,
How about that? Hey, I just realized something. I had this right here the whole time, and I forgot I had it. Look at there.
That's a good looking hat, man.
Now we match. Now I apologize about the sweat lines on it, but that just means I've been wearing it not in the summer.
No, that's good. That's what it's for. These are working hats.
And here, kind of being stuck in the house for the last couple of days because of the cold and stuff, I started reading my copy of Meat and Three, not MEAT, but MEET, Meat and Three. So for those listening, if you're tuning into this and you're like, Stafford Sheridan, I know that name. Yeah, he's the gas station guy, does gas station food reviews. You can find him on Facebook and everywhere. Restaurant owner, farm owner there in Drew, but now author of Meat and Three. So for this audience, Stafford, what is Meat and Three, your book, about?
It is part memoir, mostly memoir. It's mostly a memoir of growing up in the Delta, and kind of how I got the love of this place. And, something I've discovered, I kind of think through writing. Writing's a great thing for everybody to do, by the way. It's like when you write, especially when you write your story, you realize that there are really only two kinds of characters, heroes and gods. And well, I mean, you could throw in Darth Vader, wasn't either one of those, but you know, there can be some villains. But
sure.
Everybody is the hero in their own story, but the gods are many. And, you know, I think about the father figures that I had as an adopted kid that almost didn't have a father in this Mississippi Delta. That's why I love it here. It's not, yeah, we got great sunsets and the food is good, but just the people that make a place. And, so really it's about what it was like to grow up here. And I didn't know that we were different until I probably went to Mississippi State. And I'd meet somebody like you and go, you know, what's going on? And then finally realize I'm the one that was different, wasn't Matt, you know? and it is different. It is different to grow up in the Delta, and you look at the world differently. And, you know, everybody here is a storyteller, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is cool. And it's cool that you've written a book. I really recommend it to, you know, folks that are on the show today on the stream. Meat and Three, Stafford Sheridan. It's got a great picture of him seated at a table, a bunch of food sitting out in a soybean field. Show me the cover. Look at him. You actually sat at a table in the middle of a soybean field for that photo shoot, right?
Dude, there's a story behind that. So that is my soybean field. So this is my soybean field here. That's a table from the restaurant, fried chicken from the restaurant, McCarty's Pottery. So, you know, I don't know how many women you got to watch, but they know about McCarty's Pottery. But the cool thing, the tablecloth was a wedding present from my grandmother that she never got to finish. And so there's a lot, you know, it's weird even that's a Delta history sitting on that table. Yeah. And so even there, funny story, I actually texted you that week that we were going to do it. I was like, hey man, you didn't know that's what I was wanting. I'm like, what you been up to? But I got Roy Doyle, who's a great photographer, to do it. And we were out there at 6 o'clock in the morning with the sun coming up. And it ended up, my favorite picture was the table set with nobody at it. Mm-hmm. And I took that picture with a cell phone. So it's scattered around on the internet somewhere, at like daylight. I mean, no, Rory hadn't made it yet, but I try to be thoughtful when I do something, you know, and I think you understand what I'm saying. Cause even the photos you take, a lot of thought goes into why you took that photo, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And I tried to be thoughtful about every little piece of it. And which is fun. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun to write and fun to do a photo shoot. Old country boy out there.
That's what I was going to say. It's fun to look at and to think, maybe we ought to do that every now and then. Let's go have a picnic in a soybean field. But it's also fun to read memoirs and lessons and about the life of somebody you know. So yeah, thanks for doing that. Hey, and Stafford, thanks for giving me a little time here on the show today. Let me interrupt what is a work day for you and for Angie. Even though she let you take a 20-minute break to talk to me, tell her thank you.
She did. She was like, go on to the office and do your radio interview. Be fabulous while I wash dishes. No, she didn't say that, but she was thinking it.
She was thinking it. Well, good deal. Look, hats off to you. Thanks for what you're doing for the folks in Drew and others like you, and tell them we said thank you. And when those linemen come in there, their meal's on me. Just let me know what the bill is. It's on me, Stafford. Thank you, buddy. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm coming back with your comments. A lot of folks on the live stream got your comments coming up next. We'll go quick break here, message from our sponsors, and back after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, Matt Wyatt here. Each week on the Mississippi Outdoors podcast, we talk with the people who live it. Hunters, biologists, game wardens, local celebrities, and storytellers that know Mississippi better than anyone.
Those bass come up there and attack them. You know how mean bass can be there.
You're never going to believe this. Matt Wyatt just talked about your deer on the radio. I said, what did he say? He said, it was Photoshopped. And I said, what?
They don't know anything about hunting. They just have never had that right, that freedom.
Dude, that's us, man. That's what we do. So tune in. Be inspired, and we'll see you outdoors. All right, back with you here in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. All right, so let me pick up with some of your comments here. I'll try to go back to where we started there. Yeah. Sven, Gene, we got Gene. Yeah. All right. So here, let's pick it up right there. Gene, I think that might have been the last comment that I read. I was on the Facebook live stream. Gene said Vicksburg got hammered by ice storms. They did. Sven said, "Hail State, everyone. First of all, rest in peace, John Brody, former MVP and quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Secondly, Pete Golding is a joker, crying about Lane Kiffin. 5 minutes later, he turns around and tampers." That's from Sven. Pat says, "It's so cold I had to open the fridge to heat the house." Yeah, boy, Pat, I'm going to have to remember that one. And to open the fridge to heat the house. Will commented and said the Broncos. Yeah, okay, we had that one about the Broncos receivers. We agree with that. Beer Slayer. Hey, Matt, glad y'all are safe. Said Sean Payton lost that game for the Broncos with play calling, and everybody's made that case with the fourth down call. You know, I saw another thing, Beer Slayer. I wonder what you think about this. And I thought it was fair to bring this into question. What little bit I know about, even college staff and organizations and the way they monitor weather and stuff and what they know about it, trying to, cover that base before a game. If you're in Denver, you're the head coach of the Broncos. Like somebody goes, "Hey, did this snowstorm in the second half come completely out of nowhere?" Because otherwise, if you sort of watched the radar and knew it was coming and going to hit at some point, probably in the middle of the game, that would probably affect how you would manage it early on. And shouldn't it affect you to take the points when you can, knowing that there ain't going to be a whole lot of points scored once that snow starts falling? I thought that was a really fair point. Jason in Flagstaff said, "Crazy how it's the Delta again. They got by far the worst of the 94 ice storm too." And I wondered about that, Jason. See, I was not here in 94. I was still in high school in Alabama. And I guess, I'm trying to think, the way it's open and flat, nothing to stop the wind. And would it have been worse maybe in 94? Like you get, a certain amount of ice on everything, and then you get strong winds on top of that. Wouldn't it? Is that maybe what makes it sometimes a little worse in the Delta? I just wonder. I don't know. Not at all an expert. Will, commenting on Alabama earlier, playing the G League player, said, "If you play in a G League, you should forfeit your eligibility for college basketball, in my opinion." And I agree with that. It just seems to make total sense. 100% makes total sense. And that's, I think, what they probably thought they were doing with the rules, but they get it challenged in court. It is weird to think about being a voluntary member of an organization, voluntary member, and then suing the organization for not, for wanting to get around their rules, even though you're a voluntary member. Isn't that weird? Only in college sports where, where you're in the business of education, allegedly, would you get something like that happening, I think. Jason also said, well, we read that earlier about Jans, and I think it's true that thing has completely fallen off the edge of a cliff regarding the state basketball. It's tough to watch. Tough to watch. Will said, well, we read that one, didn't we? Okay, so let's go to Ferrelli. He said to Ferrelli, "It just tells you that your word is worthless, letter of intent is worthless, and your contract is worthless." And then he says, "What happened to honor? And don't you want your word to mean something?" And I think, yeah, you touched on, and loyalty too. I mean, that's out the door. So you look at all those things you're talking about there, Will, they're pretty high ideals. Honor, your word to mean something, and then loyalty. And to me, and you may feel the same way. To me, in any area of life, in any profession, in anything, we start to not only sometimes not think about those ideals, but we actually start to reward the opposite of those ideals. Then we have a real problem. The current system is not going to reward Dabo Swinney, even though he's right in this scenario. He didn't do anything wrong, and he did right by what he said he would do. He's got some honor in it, in that situation. His word was going to mean something. He's right. But the current structure in college sports will actually reward the opposite of him. The current structure in college sports rewards dishonesty, dishonor, your word meaning nothing, and disloyalty. Those things are actually rewarded by the current framework of college sports. And so if you are in any sort of adult leadership position, you are tied to that. And in this era, this block of time that we're in, history will write about it. History will cover it. And I believe that long-term history will not be very kind at all to the grown-ups and the leaders who are a part of designing, promoting, and building and gravitating into a system that rewards dishonor, disloyalty, and lying and cheating. History's not going to be kind to them. Hail State fan on YouTube said, for those who want to fire Levy and Jans, who should we hire? Sven said, fire Levy, yes. Fire Jans, no. Sven said, this offensive line and defensive line are not on an SEC level. They went and got a bunch of new ones. And then he says 4-8 incoming. Yeah, I'm sorry about the initial echo. I'm glad we were able to get it fixed ultimately. And he is. He said he's a good man helping the hood out. I mean, it's hometown, and he's helping them out. Jason in Flagstaff says, we're going to be 4-8 at best until we pay for SEC quality lines of scrimmage, no matter who's coaching. Starters from D2 and bench riders otherwise aren't enough, period, the end. And Hail State fan agrees with him. Well, and I'll be honest with y'all. I still, to this point, I'll wait till spring practice starts, and then I'll use my time to learn who's on the team and who's on your line of scrimmages and where they come from. I don't waste a lot of my time elsewhere throughout the year because of things like we saw with the Clemson player. But, I know that it can happen to State. You can have somebody that's there in class right now, and it doesn't necessarily mean he's on your team. So I'll kind of wait till practice to see who they are. But I do agree, certainly, with the overall premise. It goes for State or anybody else. If you want to win games, you build the team from the line of scrimmage out, and you start on the line of scrimmage and you prioritize the line of scrimmage. And it's like, it's like last night when, you had this incredible game between the Seahawks and the Rams. And, you watch that game, and sure, Darnold and some receivers and running backs made some plays, and, Nakua and some of them, the skill players for the Rams. But that game was like a line of scrimmage highlight reel. Some of the things that offensive and defensive linemen were doing in that game and some of the play on the line of scrimmage, and then it's all over. They never interview a lineman. Did you notice that? They never do. I mean, you have a 10-7 game in the snow. Okay. And then when it's over, you're going to interview the quarterback. Drake May's a good player. He had that good run, but what'd he do? Interview a defensive lineman who was involved with hitting the other quarterback and holding an NFL team to 7 points in their own stadium. No, we got to talk to quarterbacks and receivers. Interview the people who are the reason you won or lost, not the ones because it just touched the football. Danny commented on YouTube. He said, Hail State, Matt, we dodged the worst here in Chattanooga Valley. No snow or ice, just bitter cold. Well, man, hallelujah. I'm glad y'all avoided it. Jason on Jan said, Jan's in his 4th year. Not only has there been no improvement from year 1, but it's regressing. Not saying fire him, but the hypocrisy from Fire Levy mid-year to ignore Jan's in year 4 is astounding. Sven in Berlin said, last week we had 1.5 feet of snow, 4 degrees, no problem here. Says the U.S. government fails completely when it comes to managing such situations. Send 500 people from Colorado or Utah, pay them, and then he says they know how to handle ice and snow. Yeah, and I think it's true, but we places like in the South, we get it so frequently, right? I mean, just think about it, Sven. The last big ice storm that we're comparing this one to in 2026 is 1994. I mean, think about it. What is that? It's over 30 years ago. That's how infrequent we get that kind of weather. We just don't, how do you know how to handle it when it doesn't happen but once every 30 years? And when we had Stafford on, Jason commented, he said, that's scary, man. So many people in Mississippi and the Delta in general live in trailers. They're poorly insulated. That's right, to begin with. And use different types of electric heaters. He said, we regularly get feet of snow here, and there's no comparing that 2 inches of freezing rain. Knocks down infrastructure lines, makes roads impassable. It's just not the same. What did he say? Even 3 feet of heavy snow we got last March wasn't nearly as physically destructive as the ice storm that he went through as a kid in Mississippi. And that's the other thing too, right? Because of where you are, freezing rain is a whole different animal. He said, I know in 94, we got like an inch of freezing rain in Tishomingo, Greenville, and up to Memphis got 2.5 inches. So it was just twice as bad. Some of the, I'm just seeing pictures of the stuff in Oxford, but they got, you see tree limbs over there with 2 inches of ice on top of it. It's like, no wonder they all just crack and break and take everything down with them. Yeah, we had, Stafford there from Drew. Gene saying that Archie is going through some health issues. I'm not aware. If he is, I hate to hear that. Hope he comes through it okay. G Bama boy telling Sven we are not firing our AD and basketball coach with an LOL behind it. Okay. Sven says that after the Indiana-Miami game, they interviewed Aiden Fisher, the linebacker. Okay. Good with that. I'm good with it. G Bama boy said, that's why I always criticize a quarterback when a team loses. You want the glory, you also get the criticism. Well, hey, and that's very true. It's very true that goes with the territory. And I would even go so far as to say that 99.999% of guys who played quarterback, in college and at a school where you're getting coverage and there's a pretty good sized fan base and all that, the quarterbacks know. All right. It's just the way it goes. When we win, I can play poorly, but if we win, they'll march me in there to the press conference and pat me on the back and all that, even though I know and the team knows I didn't really even play that well. And I'm not the reason we won, but I'll get the credit. That's the way that works. And conversely, I can play great and do my job and whatever, but if we lose, I'm a scoundrel and they're going to hate me, and it just comes with the territory. I think most guys that play quarterback know that. So there you go. All right, listen, y'all, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Appreciate that. I'm going to try to go back and take some of the conversation I had with Stafford about the ice and everything else and maybe clip that out and post it for us, put it on Facebook and YouTube and a couple of those things, maybe on Instagram as well. I appreciate y'all being here and understanding. It's fun for us on the live stream. We'll do tomorrow. I know on Tuesday, we'll also have another live stream only show. Beaver, as I said, is still kind of recovering. He's going to be okay. He's not at death's door. He's not in the hospital, anything like that. He's going to be okay ultimately, but he's got to have another checkup and some tests run tomorrow. Then hopefully on Wednesday, we get back to normal with the radio, on the radio as well during the show. And I just appreciate y'all. Sven, thank you for being here with us. You know, there would be honestly, there'd be no reason for me to get in here and have a show and talk to y'all if I didn't get to hear from you. That is really the highlight for me. So thank you and everybody else for being here. And JS290 and the Mississippi Man and G-Bama Boy, Sven, Gene, Jason, Will, Hail State Fan, John, everybody who's been a part of the show today on the live stream, Beer Slayer, all y'all, thanks for being here. And we'll do it again tomorrow. So for Beaver and myself, all of us here on the show, thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. See ya.